Do you care about rugby sevens, folks? I have to ask this question because there seems to have been a couple of bits of not the best news for sevens in recent times. Ireland has just announced they are disbanding their men's sevens team. Ireland, their rugby union, has had a bit of a financial deficit, and to cut some costs, they are cutting the men's sevens team, saying there are other development pathways which are going to be better for Irish rugby than the men's sevens. And then the sevens competition itself at the top level has recently had a announcement that they will be reducing the number of teams down to 8, I think from 12. Now I need to put it out there, I am not a sevens follower any more than a very casual follower. So there may be a lot of you needed to educate me in the comments, but I'm largely going to be looking at this through the lens of 15s and how does it kind of connect with sevens. I will say I do follow the Olympic sevens. That was very successful. The Antoine Dupont storyline and the Ilona Maas storylines were phenomenal. Some of my favorite parts of the Olympics. I think I watched more Olympic sevens than I did any of the other sports at the Olympics. I genuinely took an active interest in the sevens, which was pleasing. But outside of the Olympics, I do not really follow sevens at all. I know a lot of 15s fans, and I know some people who follow both. I don't really know many people who only follow sevens and not 15s, which leads me to kind of ask the question, is sevens there basically just to prop up or to support, to be a pathway for 15s? Or can it be, is it enough to be its own thing? And part of me wonders about that question in a kind of doubtful way. Is it enough to be its own thing? Part of the reasons I think this, we used to have a very successful tournament for sevens here in New Zealand called the Wellington Sevens. It was a carnival atmosphere, involved people getting dressed up into all kinds of outfits, doing a fair bit of drinking and watching the sevens. It was genuinely a go-to event. I had co-workers that I worked with who would make special trips to Wellington just to attend the sevens weekend, who wouldn't even dream of going to watch the Blues play the Hurricanes down in Super Rugby for the same, kind of trip. Sevens was a must-see. So it was a big event, but they sanitized it in terms of, alcohol, and they took the carnival atmosphere out of it. And guess what? People stopped going. So the rugby itself, the sevens itself, was not a big enough draw to keep people going, which is a little bit of a concern. They don't even have sevens at that level, like those tournaments played in New Zealand anymore, because they don't get the crowds like they used to. Obviously, some places, like I think Hong Kong is obviously the one that's like the one that gets lifted up as the kind of centerpiece event, but there's other places around the world where they can get good crowds, but I think other places as well need to have that kind of something extra to get people into the sevens, whether it's that kind of carnival drinking atmosphere. It just seems to go hand in hand with sevens. And I'm not sure whether, if you take that aside, you can draw in the same number of fans as when you had that kind of carnival atmosphere. Now, looking at sevens from a 15s point of view, there's been numerous athletes who have come through sevens and ended up performing really well at 15s. I mean, Rodrigo Isgro, I'd never heard of the guy in the 15s context, but people told me, you need to keep an eye on this guy. He's world class at sevens. He's made a transition into 15s. Quaka Smith was in sevens before 15s, and Hugo Keenan and John Bloody Lomu. So there's been some incredible athletes who've played sevens and certainly transferred some of that experience into 15s. And I love that fact. And I love the fact that sevens seems to spread the game of rugby into areas which wouldn't otherwise pay any attention to it. China was at the Olympics with their women's sevens team. Kenya's certainly better at rugby sevens than they are at 15s. Likewise, Brazil's women's team, is at a higher level than their 15s teams are at. So that can only be a good thing for the game. But yeah, they're reducing the number of teams. Ireland's cutting their team, and the competition seems to be losing a ton of money. That being said, the New Zealand Rugby Union, the Irish Rugby Union, these guys are all losing money as well. So maybe it's just a tough time for the sport generally. But yeah, at the moment, sevens seems to be mainly being looked at as a side piece transferable event, which is kind of a pathway to 15s. World Rugby can say all the positive stuff they like about it when they reduce the number of teams down to 8, but it just doesn't seem like a great look at the moment. But yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts. Where do you stand on sevens? Do you follow it casually? Do you follow it religiously? Do you not follow it at all? You guys take care, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.